So what we're looking at in the blueprint here is the IT Guys application, version 4. One of the first components that we have is going to be the zOS component. So the zOS component is going to be a COBOL program that we're going to be working with from the mainframe side. As part of this, we've also packaged together what this application needs is also some infrastructure layer for Postgres, Java at the infrastructure layer, and those two are going to be actually installed and configured through our integration with Ansible. Over here we have a database component that's going to update rows into the Postgres database once that's been provisioned up and running. And then we have our other side of our application, which is our web app, which is going to be, this is the Tomcat at the infrastructure layer for what's needed to run the WAR file here. So what we've done is we've literally pulled together the mainframe database infrastructure application, Java application, all together into a single view of our application for this version. This makes it very easy for us to, at this point, we don't really worry about where it's going to, how it's being deployed. We're just getting the pieces together in our blueprint of what is everything that we want to package together as part of this process of deploying it. And DeployHub will figure out what needs to go where as part of that process. I actually drill into our component for the mainframe, one of the things I have as part of this is the component type. So I'm assigning that this is a load lib component that we need to work with. If we go back and look at, for example, this component here for the WAR file, we can see that it's just called an application file. So because of this component type, we're able to map and route objects or artifacts to go to the right places as part of the deployment process. So what we have, let me go into, this is the Meister on the mainframe, and I'm going to go into the setup here. And you'll see here we have a COBOL program. We're going to create a load module for a COBOL program. If I go ahead and edit this guy, this is very similar to an Endeavor processor group. Basically, this is on the back end an XML file that enables us to define what build type or processor group that's going to be utilized. In this case, this is the COBOL load module as that type. And then we have our high-level dependencies. In this case, we were just worrying about the Hi World COBOL program. Copybooks, we actually have a set of scanners built into Meister that will find copybooks and resolve those as part of the dependency tree generation. These build types you can have, if I go down, there's a bunch of different types. If we're dealing with an Assemble load module, CICS programs, DB2 will be in here, PL1, any of those types come out of the box. You can create additional build types and modify our existing ones. So that gives you the complete flexibility to really tailor Meister to your existing environment. And if we look at if we had a C program would have multiple dependencies. So you don't have to have just a single dependency. You can have multiple dependencies. So if you had 5 C programs that go into the load module, those would each be a dependency. So what we're going to do as part of this process is I have another target here that is going to be the stepping stone to packaging what we've built in a transmittable format. So the XMIT format enables us to move not only from LPAR to LPAR, but also from one mainframe to another. So if we want to go from one data center, bring the artifact, what we've built, off of the mainframe, put it somewhere that we can then distribute to another data center, that XMIT format allows us to do that. You'll see when, as part of this deployment process, we're going to actually be working with these four load libraries. Right now, we have no members in them, and we're actually going to actually deploy as part of that process. Now, like I said, the intermediate step that we're going to do is we'll actually build here. We'll build for development. After that build has been completed, we're actually going to publish the results out to Artifactory. You can see here I have several versions. We're at version 11 here of our load module. So this is giving us a way to store versions of our binaries so we can go forward and backwards through time, and if we need to roll back, we have a place to roll back from. Artifactory is just one I just chose randomly. It could be Nexus, it could be Meister has its own binary repository as well. I just chose this one just out of because I had it up and running. So let's go ahead and go back to our mainframe here, and we'll just build all these. So I've just submitted my job to go ahead and do the build process. So I'm going to create the load library, and then I'm going to go ahead and create my package as part of that. Also, like I said, we'll be publishing the artifacts out to Artifactory as part of that process. And what this is going to allow us to do is in the development stage, like in the case like Endeavor, as soon as you check something in, Endeavor builds as part of that process. Because Endeavor has the link, it is a regular CI engine. You check it and build. We would hook onto that processor to go ahead and publish down to a centralized repository like Artifactory. So here are my jobs that came in, our compile step here, and then our package. So if we actually look at our members here, we have our new load library that's been put in place. And if I refresh this page, we have version 12 now that's been generated and uploaded. If we go back to DeployHub, we can actually look at our application here in our timeline. We can see that we just did our deployment as part of this process. When we did do that deployment, we did deploy the application. So that not only did we deploy version 12, but also I forced it to redeploy some of the distributed side. DeployHub can work in two modes where you can tell it to force a deployment of a component, or it can be incremental. If we look at the log file here, we'll actually see that there's pieces that are already incremental. Those Postgres and the Java piece, those I had in incremental mode, so I did not force a redeployment of those. Also, like our database layer our database roll forward was already on the server, so we didn't re-execute that, because that's one of the things with database updates. They really need to be incremental. You don't want to go and add the same data multiple times, or try to add the same column that already exists as part of that process. So from here, we've deployed to development, and now we're going to go ahead and come along, and somebody's going to go, okay, we're happy with version 12. Let's go ahead and deploy this down the pipeline. What we're typically seeing is developers on their CI process, they'll want to deploy to development all the time, but they may deploy to development 50 times today and never send it to testing or integration or production. Because of that, there's usually some sort of gated approval that's in process that bridges between what the developers are doing in their CI process and the rest of the pipeline for continuous deployment. I'm going to go ahead and run this pipeline, and we'll go into it. So we have several steps in our pipeline. We're going to do the integration, which is going to be our system integration, making sure all of our code is good to go with our teammates. From there, we're going to actually go out to testing. Once testing's been completed, we'll go out to production. As each step in this, when we're done with the deployment to integration, we'll actually go ahead and run some test cases. So we'll have automated test cases that are going to kick in, and we're going to verify that everything was good to go. If all the test cases pass, then we're going to move to the next stage of the pipeline automatically. So we'll see here we did our deployment. Here's our deploy log, everything that happened. This is what we just saw similar back in DeployHub. We bring it all back, centralize that, and then here's our test cases. We ran 10 successful test cases. And because we were successful here, we automatically moved through the pipeline. Now, if I jump back to DeployHub real quick, DeployHub is actually mirroring the pipeline in Jenkins. And this is one of the things that we can do. We can actually do all this without Jenkins. With DeployHub itself, we have a pipeline built in, but you'll see here version, I already made it up to production. Version 4 has already gone up to production here as it jumped through the different stages. We could get the history of it. So we have that full audit history. So here I did the approval when I basically started the Jenkins job running. I deployed into integration testing. Then I moved it into the testing area, which is this stage of the pipeline from integration. I deployed there, and then I moved into production. Production I did not have any test cases against, and we'll see that as part of this. So testing, we had our test cases here. We had 10 of them. Here's our deployment. You can see we have a different deployment log. Again, we're deploying version 12. We'll see that in here. There's version 12 being deployed out. And if you look at our test cases, we ran 20 test cases for the testing. And those passed, so then we went automatically to production, did our production deployment. And again, the way this pipeline is set up, there's no test cases associated to production, just we do the deployment as part of that.